Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, depending on where in the world you're watching from. This is Brenda Meller. This is my LinkedIn live show. I call it Social Media Pie because I bring on inspiring people, that's the P, to inform, that's the I, and educate, that's the E, you. And today I am delighted to have on with me Mick Adam. Hey, Mick, how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderfully well, Brenda. And you?
I am doing great. I'm really looking forward to our chat today, guys, because we're going to be talking about, look at this, why you should resist the ultimate temptation of LinkedIn automation. And we're definitely seeing a rise of automation on the platform. We're going to get into that today. Before we jump into that discussion, hey, I want to make sure, tapping the microphone, is this thing on? Is the stream working? If you are watching right now live, could you do me a favor? Could you please drop a quick comment? Just say hello, good morning, good afternoon, or maybe tell me where in the world you're watching us from. That lets us know that the stream is picking up. And I'll wait until I see a comment or two coming in before we get into the conversation. Every now and again, Mick, I get a little technology hiccup where StreamYard doesn't properly turn the baton over to LinkedIn, or LinkedIn doesn't grab the baton. It's like a race and somebody drops the baton in the race. So I like to wait for that coming in. Now, Mick, I'm at the start of my day here in the US, and we actually just had a holiday weekend. So I feel like I'm coming in on a Monday, but it's about 9:07 a.m. my time. Where in the world are you located, and what time is it where you are?
Well, I'm in Belgium, Bruges, the little Venice of the North, as they say. And it's about 3 p.m. in the afternoon. So it's the middle of the afternoon for me.
Wonderful. Is it 2 p.m. or 3 p.m.?
3.
3. Okay. I was prepping the email and I thought I got all the times, and I thought, oh, did he say 2? I just messed up my time zone. I got to get like the clocks on the wall to do the time version. All right. It looks like the live stream is working. We've got Yisrael watching us. We've got Tomas. We've got Seb. Hey, how you doing, Seb? Bill. We've got all kinds of folks that are watching us and joining. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our conversation. We're going to be having a great chat about LinkedIn automation. And just to set it up, you like a lot of the people watching probably have some automated invites sitting in their inbox right now, Mick. And you and I are frequently talking about these things. And you had a blog from way back when, and we'll talk about it in a minute. There's a newer blog right now too. But before we jump into the conversation, let's I want to give you a few moments to talk a little bit about yourself and your business. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that, Mick?
Well, I'm a social media trainer with a focus on B2B, which means LinkedIn. And I focus on 3 areas in my practice, from training and consultancy, which is social selling, or the use by social media by sales, social recruitment, obviously is pretty clear, and employee advocacy, or how to make your employees ambassador of your company on social media. And like I said, I do this on training, consultancy basis, and that's what I do. I try to close the gap between social media and the business.
I love it. Do you specialize solely in LinkedIn then, or do you do all platforms?
I do, when it comes to recruitment and advocacy, I do all platforms. And my favorite these days is TikTok.
Oh, very good. TikTok. So good to know. So what if we were to look you up on TikTok, what's your TikTok channel?
My TikTok channel isn't really set up, but it's Mick Adam 60. But I'm just, for the moment, playing around. But the potential is enormous for employee advocacy. And I'm working with a couple of clients on the employee advocacy side with TikTok.
Oh, good to know. I'll have to check that out. I have a TikTok channel, and I'll admit I really don't do too much. I set it up during the pandemic. My daughter and I were doing like dances together, and we got some views, but it was just for fun, and I didn't really do too much. And I know there are others from the LinkedIn training community that are starting to launch TikToks. Ilya's one. I don't know if you follow her. She does a really great job with some funny but professional videos and memes and stuff like that. But it's exciting. And you were talking about employees as advocates as well. So are you leaning into company pages as an area of focus right now?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it all starts with a company page, and then you go from there to personal, personal posts based on the company page, not just plain old sharing what's on the company page, but at least, trying to come up with interesting ways to take that content which is on your company page that has been approved. And we all know how difficult people have, or how many difficulties they have finding content. Well, it's approved on your company page. Do something creative with it.
Absolutely. Well, that's another conversation for another day. We could bring maybe Michelle J. Raymond in on it. What do you think? We could have a three-way chat about
Yeah,
company pages and engagement. That might be fun.
that would be great.
Awesome. Well, let's chat about the subject at hand, guys. And this is something that a lot of us on LinkedIn, I think, especially within the LinkedIn training community, the LinkedIn trainers and coaches, we
Mhm.
feel like there's a lot of people trying to use shortcuts, which is LinkedIn automation. And but I think the general public probably feels just as annoyed as we are, Mick, because they know it's automated too. So why should we resist using LinkedIn automation, Mick? Tell us why.
Well, why we should resist is really simple. LinkedIn has in its terms of use the fact that you can't automate
Hmm.
your processes on LinkedIn. You can't game the algorithm. You cannot give your credentials to somebody else to do whatever they want to do to it. So theoretically, LinkedIn could ban you, and they do, by the way, ban people for automation practices. So that's, I guess, a very good reason not to say yes to LinkedIn automation, but to say no to LinkedIn automation. Because how much is, if you build up a LinkedIn profile over, in my case, 18 years.
Right.
So if I would start using automation and I get suspended slash deleted from LinkedIn, there goes all 18 years of work putting together my network, building up those relationships, and maybe not being able to restart it again.
Mm, that's a
So
good
the
point.
temptation there is there should be no temptation because you're completely at risk. It's kind of like driving your car above the speed limit and getting caught, and the police taking your driver's license. You no longer can drive a car.
Now, you said you've heard some people that have had their account, they've been kicked off of LinkedIn, and I've heard varying stories of this because sometimes it's kind of a slap on the hand. The first time they catch you doing it, they say don't do it again, and you're
Yeah.
put like in timeout for 48 hours or whatever it is, and you have to promise, check a
Mhm.
box that says you're not going to do it again, and they'll give you a second warning, and then there's a
Mhm.
longer waiting period, and then the third warning. I had one person reach out to me because her client cannot ever send invitations ever again. He could still access LinkedIn, but he can't ever
Mhm.
send invitations ever again. They're like, nope, you violated it too many times. Now you've heard of people getting
Mhm.
kicked off of the platform entirely, like
Yeah,
having the next level
definitely.
up from that.
I'll share a secret story. Is hearing us anyway. But I'm a member of a number of these LinkedIn automation groups where, those platforms who create automation create also groups of people that they let in. And I've
Oh,
got,
really? Yeah.
I'm a member of a number of these groups. And you should see the number of people who post messages in that group saying, help, I lost my LinkedIn profile today, or LinkedIn blocked me or suspended me and stuff like that. What can I do next?
Hmm.
So, which is kind of like I see these stories on a daily basis of
Right.
people getting knocked off for using automation. And what these automation platforms oftentimes say is, well, maybe you shouldn't go from 0 to 100 in one day.
Okay.
But then again, at the end of the day, LinkedIn is going to catch you somehow.
Right.
Unfortunately, LinkedIn isn't probably not as strict as they should be, as I would say. But
Yeah.
there are people, I know of people that have been restricted. And just to make it even worse, one of the providers or the creators of one of these tools has a lifetime ban on LinkedIn.
They have a what?
Lifetime ban on LinkedIn. They can no
Really? So
longer,
they can't even get on LinkedIn. So
they, yeah.
let's back that up a little bit because one of the things, and I want to talk about this. One of the things I do when I sense it's an automated invite, and I do this, is I'll reply back with one word, test,
Mhm.
TEST. So I reply back with word test, TEST, and what it does is it screens out the human beings from the automation.
Yeah.
And the human beings seeing this will do the natural human reaction, which is, "What did you mean by that?" Or or they might do the funny, "Did I pass your test?" Haha, because they know I'm trying to do something. Or
Yeah.
sometimes they kind of say, "Oh, I'm not using bots or automation," because they've seen me talking about this before. And then the automated, I've gotten as high. I think I have one that's 6 right now, Mick, and I'm keeping it open because I want to see if they reach back out to me again. I've done
Mhm.
test and they reply back and they say, "Let's set up a demo." Test 1, 2, 3. we can't send you that information now, but click this link to set up a demo. Test 2, 3, 4. And I keep going and keep going, and it's like it's at the 6th test right now, and they've stalled. They haven't replied to me again.
Yeah.
But then what I do, if I do get a human being replying back, I will say, I'm curious if you're using automation. It's a tool. This is a technique I use to screen out people from software. If so, which software are you using? And I'm not telling them what I'm doing with it because I'm really curious what software. And they'll tell me, and I'll look against your list, and oftentimes it's already there. And I'll say, did you know that use of automation could result in getting banned? And did you also know in the terms of service on that software, don't they have to spell it out and say, hey, it could result in your account getting banned or locked up and no money back? I don't know what the rules are, but I know they've talked to their lawyers because they're using this. Do you have any insights on that?
Not really. The thing is that there's a bunch of court cases going on around this usage, and depending, one day LinkedIn wins, the other day LinkedIn loses. It's a toss-up in terms of who's actually going to be right. But on the other hand, I mean, LinkedIn has it in the terms of service. When you clicked or when you became a member, you accepted it. When they update it, you accept the updates. So I guess they have the right somewhere to kick you out if it comes to that.
Right. But they know, because that's why they're putting something in their terms of service. But then to your other point, that gentleman who's running this software who's banned LinkedIn for life, I mean, that's a quick check for me. If you're going to use software that professes to help you with LinkedIn, look up the people who run the company on LinkedIn. Look up their company on LinkedIn. If you can't find them, that should be like a screaming neon flag, right? I mean, we can't find them.
And that's how I found out. Because the gentleman makes software, so I decided to look him up on LinkedIn. I found his company, but I didn't find him anymore.
Oh, that's odd.
And he's been on LinkedIn. I know that much because I know from way back when he was on LinkedIn. He wasn't one of my connections, but he was on LinkedIn. And now he's nowhere to be found anymore.
That's crazy.
So it's really strange. So, but I think at the end of the day, I mean, your 6 messages, how authentic is the person sending you the messages? And that should also be the reason to do, to not jump on automation. I understand it's a big temptation because you kind of hate typing the same connection message or the sending message that you want to send out and stuff like that. But still, at the end of the day, it's about building authentic relationships. And you do that with real humans and unfortunately not with bots.
Absolutely. Completely 100% agree. I'm curious, Mick. I mean, we can send out like 100 invitations a week. Do you ever hit the limit, or do you regularly hit that limit?
I've never hit the limit. I mean, the thing is, at this point in my LinkedIn life, I get more invitations than I need to send out. I guess I get very picky about who I invite into my network. So I go regularly through the people who follow me and then send them a message basically saying, thanks for following me. I'd love to see more of your content and stuff like that, and go and look at what they publish and, try and personalize the message basically. So I don't, like I said, maybe I invite 1 or 2 or 3 people a day, but that's about it though.
I would say the same, and I'm kind of curious for those people that are watching, whether you're watching live or in playback. I just put a message up on screen. Who is maxed on their 100 invitation limit each week on LinkedIn? If you have, comment below. I don't know if I ever have. Maybe there's been 1 or 2 weeks where I may have been speaking at a conference and I got a list of the attendees who were in the room, and I wanted to make sure we were connecting with them. Other than that, I mean, I don't really hit 100 invitations each week, because you and I think, are the same. It's quality over quantity. We'd rather
definitely.
connect with the right people. And if you're doing the work, you're doing the work. You're pulling up your sleeves. You're actually looking up people's profiles on LinkedIn, making sure that they are a fit for your ideal target audience, and personalizing invitation. You can't do 100 of those in a week. You should be, maybe, a few a day.
That's where the temptation is. People want to do 100 a week. They don't want to go and visit a profile and find the hook to basically invite the person. So what they do is they say, well, let's do a search, let's find all the buyers, and let's send them all a standard message, which obviously is already a good thing. They're sending us that standard message,
Right.
but it's basically automated, and people can see through it these days.
Yeah. That's
And
crazy.
that's really unfortunate. So,
Yeah.
but there is more to automation than that, though. There's also the whole content amplification automation, where you post something and you get other people to
Oh,
support you with
the
likes and
pods, right?
comments. Yeah, the famous pods, and there's
Mhm.
there's gray pods and there's black pods. I can put it that way.
Mhm.
The gray pods are the WhatsApp groups, the Messenger groups, the LinkedIn groups, Facebook groups. These are more difficult to catch.
Right.
While the other pods, the black pods, as I call them, those are easy to catch, because oftentimes you will see a whole set of comments that say, well done, I like your comment, great job, and those kind of things, which are basically pre-formatted texts. And, that's how you can actually tell, this person isn't getting real engagement, but it's all generated by a pod.
Yeah, it's almost like they have a list of comments that they pull. It's almost like a greeting card generator, like pull a
Well, the
greeting.
thing is, when you join a pod like that, I don't know if you ever played around with it, but I did play around with it at some point. And the thing is, if you look at it, it comes pre-populated with
Yeah.
about, I think it's like 25 to 30 comments that you can have.
Yeah.
And you send a post out and you get these 25 wonderful comments, which really mean nothing. I mean, in
Right.
all honesty, that's it. So that's not a good sign either of and last week I was at a conference. I do want to show you this. Again, nobody's watching, but I gave my presentation with some other person who was kind of fond of automation, and
Yes.
I gave my presentation in my nice new little blue
Let's
t-shirt,
see it.
which
Yeah.
is
Check it
so,
out. Isn't that awesome? I love it. You should have like a merch store, Mick, and we could all all the whole LinkedIn training community, we would all like buy a shirt and
I know
it's
it was kind of fun though. It was I mean everybody kind of kept looking at me like, what is he trying to say? So I
right.
went to my
What's happening here? What's interesting too, I want to talk about your blog in a minute. I'm going to pull it up on screen, but what's interesting is now the folks that are the creators of the software are realizing that the LinkedIn training community is getting a little irritated, and we're flagging them. We're letting LinkedIn know, or we're like, in my case, when they message back and I say, are you using automation? If so, which software? They tell me. And then I go
Mhm.
on your blog and I post it and I said, here's another name, Mick.
Yeah,
And I'm doing
yeah,
this to help LinkedIn. I'm like, LinkedIn, here you go. Like, here's the name of the software so you guys can look it up. But now
yeah.
some of this, and I've had one of my message interactions, the person went back because I said, hey, the use of their software is a violation of terms of service. It's probably in the fine print somewhere. They know it. And
Mhm.
you'll probably have like if you lose your account, sorry for you, we keep your money,
Yeah,
sayonara, whatever. And they came back and they said they talked to the owner of the company and they said, well, the LinkedIn trainers are going to tell you that because we actually compete with them. So they're coming out with this Blair in here. Because they know that they're feeling like there's some competition because we're calling them out on the
mhm.
fact that they are using the software that's violating um, terms of service. But we are here to use LinkedIn ethically and
Yeah.
to be good human beings to
Exactly.
one another, right, Mick?
Exactly. I think that's you made the point exactly that I want to make. We're not here to point and finger point at them. We just want to make sure the platform adds value, remains authentic, and you're not we're not trying to cut corners illegally because we all accepted the same terms.
Yeah. So let's talk about this blog because you had like a version 1 and you
Yeah.
had a version 2. I'm going to pull up the version 2 right now while you're
Okay.
talking about it. So tell us a little bit about this and I'm going to put the link into chat so people can check it out too.
Well, one of the things that I found is, and this is the reason why I started that blog post, is that a lot of the colleagues don't want to talk about the names that are out there doing this kind of stuff. And we're kind of trying to stepping away from the reality is like, okay, these tools are there, people are using them. If every course I do, I've got one wise nose that says, I've been using XYZ software for the last 5 years and I've never been caught. So it's like, okay, let's throw all those names into the public domain and let's start talking about it rather than stop ignoring they exist and see them as what they say we do, see them as our competition, because they're not. They're not our competition, on the contrary. But the thing is, I mean, I started this blog from that idea. Plus, you see all kinds of different formats. In the beginning, we all had plugins, you know, and that now is evolving to, you know, the SaaS model, whereby things are, you do a search and it's kind of exported into the cloud, and then you can do kind of stuff there, which is a little bit away from the LinkedIn eye, more difficult to track kind of stuff. I also wanted to touch on the different forms of automation, because I think when we talk automation, we often see connect and message, but there's also the content amplification. There is also scheduling, which is legal, but okay.
Scheduling is okay. That's like using like Buffer, Hootsuite, and that's not scraping information from LinkedIn. It's an automation of a process, but it's not automating growing your network. It's pushing content out. It's kind of like an email newsletter. You use like a MailChimp or something to schedule emails. So automation, and this is okay. LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, they all allow automation of scheduling for posts.
And there used to be a time when you scheduled through Hootsuite, Buffer, and many others, you would get penalized for reach. Now that's no longer the case. So I guess LinkedIn has accepted that we all want to do this. So there is nothing in their terms of service actually saying that you can't.
Right. Okay.
So, but it's a form of automation. So I kind of wanted to shine the light on all the different angles of automation.
Okay.
Because I think, I mean, we focus very much on the networking bit of it. I mean, the connection requests and kind of stuff. But I think, you know, we have to have eye for the amplification, and maybe there's also lots of people out there that hand their profile to somebody else that do not realize that actually they're putting their profile also at risk.
I actually had one, now that you mentioned that, I had one person when I messaged them, I did the test message, Mick, and I said, I'm screening in or using automation. And they said, actually, I have a company that does it for me. I'm not even, I mean, they gave them their login and everything. They're not even touching it at all. And I was like, wow. I said, well, are you aware that, you know, I mean, that's a violation of terms of, I mean, I know like some executives do it, and I have heard LinkedIn tends to look the other direction if it's an employee or an agency manager. They don't really go after. But I said, there's two issues here. One is they've got your password. So think about that. They could, you know, export your connections. And there's a lot of damage they could do. But the other thing is use of their software is actually a violation of terms of service and could end up in getting your account banned. And this person had, I don't remember how many, but it was like thousands and thousands of followers and connections. And they were like, really? I wasn't even aware. And they went back to the company and they said, yeah, they said that there is a risk, but they never told me that. Or if they did, if it was in the fine print, I didn't read it. And they're like, thank you. And I'm like, I'm not really trying to gain your business. I'm more like, as you are doing, Mick, trying to educate the community about the software. Now, I'm curious, do you get automation sent to you? I feel like you're kind of probably on the wanted list by these companies because you're flagging them. But do you still get it from other people? Do you still get automation?
Yeah, I even get companies reaching out to me trying to sell me automation.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I mean, I currently, in all honesty, I got two players in the market today that have approached me with their software. Wouldn't you like to try it and see how it works for you? Well, the first thing I asked them is this safe?
Right.
And how safe is it? Two, are you violating any of the LinkedIn, you know, terms of services? And three, I mean, it's no, when you look at what they're doing, you know upfront it's no good.
Do they respond back to you at that point, or do they kind of go quietly into the night?
Everybody responds to me with, we are totally safe.
Right.
And nobody has actually said we were endorsed by LinkedIn, luckily, because that couldn't be true.
It's not true because LinkedIn hasn't endorsed any of them.
But the thing is, they all on their website, it's also in my blog, they also have the statement that they're actually safe and why they're safe in most cases.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, but you can say you're safe, but you're violating 1, 2, and 3, so you're not really safe. But anyway, so that I've got people selling me that stuff on a regular basis, or trying to get me to try it and stuff like that. And I mean, that's also how I get the names of some of these players. So
So the list you have created, how do you find that? Is it from people like me who added into your comments, or are you searching for this, or how are you
well,
finding the names of these
it's a
software?
combination of three things. One, I get contacted.
Hmm.
Two is I've done some searching. And three, I mean, I get input from you guys,
Hmm.
from the community at large, and people. There are even people coming to me saying, a client of mine has just received this or that offer. Is this safe?
Is
It's like,
this legit, right? Yeah. And
yeah,
I love in your blog how you've pulled all of these, like, they sound really appealing. Code-free automations. Your LinkedIn is more
yeah,
important than ever.
yeah.
Generate business opportunities while you sleep. I mean, the claims, like, we're going to take you to the promised land and there'll be piles of money right behind you. Come over
So,
here. Right.
so why wouldn't you be tempted to do this?
Right. Right.
Now, the other thing is LinkedIn is unfortunately not reacting too hardly, and there's a reason.
Mm.
Because all of these tools require you to buy a premium, and most of the time
Ah, I
people,
did not know that. Interesting.
well, yeah, because one of the issues is there's limitations in the free version of LinkedIn.
Mm.
And
Hmm.
if you view too many profiles, if you send too many invites, you risk getting blocked in LinkedIn itself or
Mm.
with the other stuff. So every time somebody signs up for one of these tools, you automatically have to, get a subscription to either Sales. Well, they kind of promote Sales Navigator, but I find that a lot of people are never using Sales Navigator. They're just
Right.
using it for automation.
Mm.
But it could eventually also be the recruiter, or even the professional version, premium professional, or even career for that matter, because it lifts a number of the limitations. And LinkedIn is winning because the more people buy subscriptions, the more people who buy automation buy also more subscriptions. So
That
LinkedIn is
I
getting
didn't,
better
I mean,
for
maybe in the back of my mind, I knew that, but I didn't really put two and two together. But that is an interesting business case. There's one other thing you mentioned in your blog, Mick. I'm going to pull it up on screen about the affiliate program, and this is something new. And one of the recent exchanges I had, I think I even shared this with you. The person was like trying to set me up for a demo, and I was not being misleading. I was asking questions. I was asking, are they aware of violation of, no, it's good. And if you want to sign up for it, you can get this free month, and then I get a cut 20% if you sign up. And I was like, oh my, now they're going to reward people as like bounty hunters for
Oh, yeah.
bringing more people in. So this seems to be the next level. It's almost like an MLM, multi-level marketing
Yeah, it
scheme,
is.
right?
It actually is. And some of the platforms actually white label themselves.
Yeah. Wow.
So you could have a Brenda Meller automation program or whatever you want to call it. I'm not suggesting that,
No,
but
I know, but I mean, it comes down to this, Mick. I mean, we are all business people, and we all need to make a living, and we need to have an income coming in to support our bills and mortgages and rent and all the other good stuff. But I mean, there's a whole community of us, and I call them the LinkedIn rock stars, the training, the coaches, the individuals who are really there to support people on the platform with doing everything legitimately, playing by the rules so you can sleep at night, not worrying if the next morning you're going to come in and your account's frozen. Because that is, I mean, it's our essential, it's our Rolodex. It's all of the connections, to your point, that you've made over the past 5, 10, 15, and I don't know how old LinkedIn is now. I think it's like 18, right? So eight could be
well, LinkedIn is 19, and I've just passed my 18th anniversary.
okay, so 19 years of contacts that you could lose access to if you're looking at a fast way to grow your network. And let's talk about the right way to grow your network, Mick. You talked about this a little bit in the beginning, but let's remind people, what is the right way to grow your network? What do you think?
the right way to grow your network is to actually engage on other people's content, have people who engage on your content, create some kind of a mutual experience
Mm-hmm.
that will bind you together and that will open that door to do a good connection request, adding a decent text in there on the reason why you want to be connected to the other person as a whole. But I think it's all about building that relationship for the long term, and not for, I want to collect 18,000 people in my network or 30,000 people in my network. That doesn't go anywhere unless you're willing to maintain that network, which most people then don't will not do. But the thing
Mm-hmm.
is, it's not a numbers game, it's a quality game.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And to me, that is more key. I mean, I have 14,000 connections. I try and keep up with the Joneses, all 14,000 of them, and it takes a lot of work. But at the end of the day, that relationship remains in place and remains authentic. And that means for me sending out a lot of messages, but it's all done manually.
Yeah.
I
So
know,
I
I
want to
know.
I want to ask the other side of this is, which is, a lot of us are getting automated invitations, Mick. I have an approach. I reply back with the word test. I would love to see converting somebody to a client from that. I'm not really getting clients from it. It's more for me. It's for my own novelty, I guess, just to see. And then also I can send some names to you for
Right.
automation software
Yeah.
as I
Yeah.
come across them. But I really want to screen in and build dialogue with new people. That's my goal with that approach. That's my approach.
Yeah.
What do you suggest for people if they're annoyed with these automated invites? Is there anything we can do? I mean, should we report them, like I don't know, I don't know, flag them to LinkedIn, or what should we be doing if we're getting annoyed with all these automated invites? What do you think?
In all honesty, there's a couple of things you could do. Is one is obviously report them. Secondly, block them so you don't, but then it's already too late, of course. Um, and thirdly is basically, point to them and say, this is not done. I mean, you don't use automation. I know you don't care at that point anymore, but I think that unfortunately, and this is what I really would like LinkedIn to put in place, is a program where you can actually report these people and
Right.
something will be done about it.
Mhm. Yeah.
And unfortunately, that has not happened. And I would love LinkedIn to set up something like that, so that this practice comes to an end.
It would be
Because,
so easy, wouldn't it, too? Because there is a way that you can report messages and report profiles, and you'll get that drop down, like, why are you reporting this? I mean, in my case, if I said test and I screened it in and I said, are you using software? And they said yes, and this is the name of it, I could say, this person is using automation and this is the name of the software. And I'm like serving it up on a silver platter for LinkedIn. And I'm not doing this to try to get people in trouble. I'm trying to do this because there is a right way to do LinkedIn. And there are a lot of people using shortcuts, doing things the wrong
yeah.
way. And if they're not getting caught, they're going to keep on doing it. And it's annoying to a lot of us. And there's this lack of transparency when you're using automation, right?
Exactly. There's no transparency. There is no authenticity. There's no relationship, period.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a client of mine, or, well, somebody who used to be a client of mine, contacted me just after New Year and say, help, I need your help, because my network has grown by 600 people in the last few weeks. And it's like,
Wow.
okay, did you use automation? And they went like, yeah, well, yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, they did, and they told me where they got it from and all of that stuff. So
Oh.
anyway, they wanted me to come in and make sure that those 600 new people turn into real relationships. And I
Oh,
said,
no, no, no.
well, you're going to have to put in some work now, to actually individually contact these people,
Yeah.
because I mean, it's just like ridiculous. But they've gotten the message. They've had the drawbacks, and yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
this. Now, there's another reason why I think these automation techniques exist, is
Mhm.
that certain salespeople who do a numbers game, cold calling, they do it now in LinkedIn, and they just
Yeah.
like add people by the million and throw them away by the million.
Right.
And that if those practices make it onto LinkedIn, then you're bound to see more of that automation, unfortunately.
Good point. So I want to move into Q&A, but I also, if there are any individuals who are using automation or have companies who are using LinkedIn automation to grow your network, you
Mhm.
keep be doing whatever you're doing. But could I ask one thing? And that is, please tell your people to not send invitations to LinkedIn trainers and coaches and people who do LinkedIn for a living, because
Mhm.
we know that this is not
Mhm.
um, a thing that we are going to recommend or use to our clients. And we also can smell it from a mile away. And you're wasting your invitation credits on us. So stop doing it. That's my answer.
And I mean, there are simple ways to find out if somebody's using automation on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just
Easy
add an
peasy.
extra letter to your name, and you know exactly who it is.
That's right. Yeah, there's a lot of people that use little characters or things like that
Yeah,
in their
and
LinkedIn account,
either
right?
they use an emoji or they use an additional letter in their name, and that way you know. Or if you have all your degrees and you get a message back with all the degrees, then you kind of know somebody's
You kind
using
of
it.
know it's exactly.
And like you, I turn them into business. I mean, I turn it around to them and say, by the way, did you know? And maybe we should talk. And again, I haven't had any real business from it, but I've been able to talk one or two people out of it.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah, I haven't I often will reference your blog. I'll say my friend Mick actually created a blog. You may want to read this. And that's usually where the dialogue ends. I have had a couple people get mad at me. You know, they're like, "Well, you were asking questions, making it seem like you were interested in talking to me." And I'm like, "No, I wasn't. I was asking a point blank question. I don't, get into that, but I want to keep this on the positive. I want to move us into questions. I want to invite our audience. If you have any questions about the use of automation, this ultimate temptation that we're talking about, or about growing your network ethically, please drop them into comments now. There's about a 30-second delay from the time I say this until the time you hear it, and then probably another 30 seconds as you're typing in your message and we're starting to pull them up on screen. So I see that we have a couple of comments I want to bring up on screen, and here's actually one question from Patrizia, and who asks, is there any chance to turn connections into clients? They are yet not using automation. So I would say absolutely, but Mick, what would you say to
Oh, yeah,
Patrizia?
definitely. I mean, connections, if you treat your connections like prospects in a good way and you start building that relationship, you're obviously you can turn them into clients. I mean, I only use one tool to get clients, and that's LinkedIn. I use no automation. So what I do is I invest a lot of time in starting conversations, maintaining conversations, engagement on posts, depending if they're obviously active or not, but that's out of my control. But at least try and start those conversations. And LinkedIn offers you more than 56 triggers to start a conversation. If you go to my profile, I've got a list, I've got a screenshot with 50 conversation starters or triggers. I mean, it's so
Where's
easy.
that on your profile? Because I'm going to show it up on screen right now.
Oh, sorry, it's in a smart link. It's in a smart link. It was on a post, I think.
Oh, okay. Sorry, it's not on your profile. Sorry. Okay.
I used to be on my featured section, but I think I've moved it to a smart link because I'm
Okay.
currently using
So
it
you'll
in a.
have to reach out to Mick if you're interested in that. Then
Yeah,
there you go.
definitely. I'm more than willing to share with you 56 ways. And by the way, the LinkedIn community, and I think you also did, Brenda,
Mhm.
added even more to that list. So I've got to update this again. But I'll wait a little bit longer. But probably I'm over 65 now.
Okay, that's good. Awesome
And,
to know.
and
All right.
it's really, but it's about starting and maintaining conversation with people on the other side.
And Patricia, I'll add on to what Mick just said, just getting this dialogue started. And part of this is if you have someone who's a connection who hasn't been responsive to your message, I usually will send them to like an invitation,
Mhm.
a first invitation, and then they accept it. And then I'll message them one more thing. And if they don't respond at that point, I kind of feel like it's playing tennis. I've sent 2 balls over the net. You haven't returned one yet. You haven't replied to me. So now I'll go into your activity feed and I'll find something that you've posted and I'll add a thoughtful comment there. And if I feel like you're a really good prospect for me, I may even keep your link to your profile handy and visit it once a week and just start to become familiar. I want to build up trust slowly, and eventually you may come back to my profile where you learn more about me, and then maybe you respond to my message.
Yeah.
But it is definitely, to your point, Mick, a slow process of building up those relationships.
And it's also, if you look at what they post, sometimes you can get from their posts what they're kind of looking or interested in. And then you start playing into that in terms of your conversations.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let me pull up. There's a couple comments that were left earlier. Manka loves your t-shirt, Mick, and we're all in the hashtag no automation club. Hey, go into comments right now and do hashtag no automation because we're all in that same camp as Mick. And this is interesting. Michelle says
Hey,
LinkedIn doesn't
Michelle.
look into it is they make pod members top voices. Oh, I was not aware of this, but that's interesting. So there's LinkedIn top voices, and Michelle apparently has some insights onto a few of
Mhm,
those top
mhm.
voices members that are part of pods. So that's another conversation probably for another day.
The other thing is, I know I recently found that somebody in Holland that is being now. It's a person 2 years on LinkedIn, is a top voice.
Hmm.
And when you look at the comments on the posts, I can tell you it's a pod.
It's a
I can
pod because
tell.
they look templated, right? They're not
Well, not really, but this person is really smart
okay.
because this person has a bunch of people, and it's always the same people that come back
Yeah,
that actually write meaningful between parentheses comments. It's not the canned messages. It's really, one paragraph comments, but it's always the same people.
same people. That should be like a languisher. And Nancy, we completely agree with you. It is a lot of people are playing the numbers game, not a relationship building game. And you're not going to win at LinkedIn if you're just focusing on the numbers. It really is relationship building. And Nancy, I see you're watching on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching out there. There was another comment that came in, Mick. This is LinkedIn user, and you can see the gray avatar over their name. I'll drop a comment into the chat here to let you know. If you have your profile locked down, if it's private, we're not going to be able to see who you are. Or if you don't have your third party
Mhm.
thing enabled, that's where it's going to come up. But this person says they like how you emphasize being more interested in others than investing. So they like that comment on there.
Mhm, mhm. Thank you.
Good to know. All right. And let me see if there's anything else in here. Michelle, I love this comment. It's funny how aggressive they get if you say you don't connect with people who use automation. Do you experience this too, Mick, where you say, I don't, it looks like you're using automation and they get really angry or offended? Do you experience that?
No, they just, in my case, they just stop coming back.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I haven't had anybody getting angry, but I mean, they just stop coming back and answering whatever I send them over, and
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Well, our last comment, I want to drop this on screen here, Joey. Hey, Joey, I completely agree with you. I hope people from LinkedIn are watching this because Mick and I really do love the platform. We want to support the platform. We want to help LinkedIn. We want to help the LinkedIn community as well, using the platform the way that it was intended and getting the most out of the platform. So we would love it if LinkedIn was listening in on this conversation. And by the way, if anyone knows people that work at LinkedIn, please tag them in the comments because maybe they'll watch this conversation. They'll get some insights. They can check out Mick's blog if they're not already aware of it. And we can all work together to make
Yeah,
LinkedIn the best
definitely,
place possible, right?
definitely. And I also don't, like I said, I don't understand it either. I think the only real explanation is, it's all about money at the end of the day, and they
Yeah.
get more
Follow the
subscriptions.
money.
So,
Yeah.
so
Well, at any rate, Mick, it has been a delight chatting with you. I always gain new insights and I enjoy the time that we have spent together. As we wrap up, do you have any final comments for people about use of automation?
well, like I said, the only comment I have is what's on my T-shirt, which says no to automation, and don't get tempted. You can't win with a short-term game. LinkedIn is a long-term relationship building game, and that's where you win.
Absolutely. I love that thought. And to end with that sentiment is a great bookend to our conversation here. Mick, I've pulled your profile up on screen. Are you open to connecting with people that watched our chat here today?
Definitely. I'm definitely open. Please do put in a message that you watched the video or that you watched the live. That way I know where you came from. By the way, if you don't put in a message, I'll send you a message to understand who you are.
That's good to know. And by the way, guys, I see that Mick, you have enabled creator mode on your profile because I can see that you have the hashtags at the top. So when people visit your profile, the default button they're going to see is going to say
Right.
follow. If they want to connect, they've got to go under the more button and then they'll see an option that will either say personalize invite or connect. Mention that you watched Mick on the LinkedIn Live with Brenda Meller. Mention me by name,
Mhm.
and he'll remember where you came from. And it sounds like you're very much open to connecting with people.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. All right. Well, my friend, well, it has been a delight. I'm going to let you get back to the rest of your afternoon, and I'm sure we will see you around LinkedIn. For anybody who may want to do business with you, Mick, can you remind us again of what are your services and how should we get a hold of you?
Well, how you should get hold of me is very simple. I use LinkedIn, LinkedIn, and LinkedIn. If at worst case, you can use Twitter, but okay. Twitter has died down a little bit.
Yeah.
My services is I do training and consultancy around social selling.
Hmm.
I do training and consultancy around social recruitment, and I get your employees to become ambassadors for the company.
That's awesome. And I'm going to bring back the conversation point I mentioned earlier, which is I'd love to get on a LinkedIn Live with you and Michelle Raymond at some point in the next couple months. So I'll coordinate that. I'll reach out to the three of us. We'll figure out a time and a conversation to do this again. And let's have a company pages discussion, talk about getting our employees engaged. I think that'd be a great conversation.
Yeah, that'd be definitely a great one to have.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, I want to thank you, Mick, for watching or for joining me, I should say, and for sharing your insights. I want to thank everyone else for watching the conversation here today and ask one final favor from our viewing audience, and that is this. And I just dropped the comment up on screen. If you enjoyed the video, could you do me a favor? As soon as the video's done, you're going to see there's a share icon at the bottom. Click to share it and share it with your LinkedIn network. If you haven't posted this week, this month, this year, this could count as your LinkedIn post for the week. When you share it out, please tag Mick, do it at Mick Adam, and his name will pop up in there. And maybe share something that you learned from watching the video. You never know who that message is going to reach, who it might be helping out there. And then you've also got a post out there for the week. And it's a great way of thinking of content if you're struggling with coming up with new content, isn't it? So
That's
so
right.
we appreciate everybody watching. All right, Mick, you have a great afternoon, my friend, and everybody else in there. Stay safe and stay healthy, and we'll see you all on LinkedIn. Have a great week, everyone.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Thank you.